Okay. We're doing a legacy film on Mama. She's going to talk to us. So here we go.
Who's gonna ask the questions?
We thought all can. Okay. For whom were you named?
I don't know.
You don't know? None of your names?
There was somebody named Bernice, but I don't know who it was.
You know, and your full name?
Bernice Claire Irene.
Tell us about your maternal grandparents. Where did they come from?
Well, my grandmother was in Sarbanes, Texas, and my grandfather was born in Germany.
Okay. How did they meet?
I have no idea.
What did they look like?
Well, when I was little, my grandmother was a little heavy, and my grandfather was skinny.
So we all
Short and
reflect
skinny.
her genes.
Right.
He was never very big. He was
Yeah.
kind of short. I mean, not very tall.
Did Momo look like either one of them?
More like my grandmother.
Okay.
And Aunt Irene looked more like my grandfather.
She was skinny.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Who do you look more like?
No.
In between?
Yeah. Might be on the other side of the family that
Yeah,
I don't
you
know.
know that.
That I don't know.
Yeah. What were their personalities like?
Loving. My grandmother was very loving. Big Christian. And my grandfather, he was loving too, but he used a little few words all the time. He was a good Christian too, but boy, the words that came out of his mouth. But they both loved me. I'd follow him around when I was a little girl.
What did he do?
Huh?
What did he do?
What did he do? He was a farmer.
What all did he farm?
I know there was cotton, sugar cane.
Tobacco?
Yeah, he raised his own tobacco. It was behind the water tank over there. And he raised it and made his own,
What kind of tobacco?
just tobacco.
None of that funny weed.
And he cut it up. He harvested it and dried it and cut it up.
Just for him, not for sale.
For him. Smoked his pipe on his chair, leaning chair outside under the trees.
Okay. Let's see. I said farming. Where did they live?
Lee County, between, it was considered Giddings, but it was closer to Lincoln. It's Giddings route, but it was between Lincoln and Giddings. And I don't know where they lived before that.
Does somebody
Dime
still live
box.
out
They
there?
lived in Dimebox, huh?
Does there still somebody living out there?
Well, they tore the house down and Nora built a big house where it was. And Lillian is still there. Lillian and Clarence built a house. Lillian has cancer.
Oh no.
I heard. I don't know what kind.
Oh no.
What kind of house was it?
My grandparents' house,
Mm-hmm.
just one wall. No sheetrock. Then it was real thick wallpaper on the inside.
So it was just like wood though, right?
Mm-hmm. And it had a big porch, a roundabout porch, had a cistern on it. And then there was a hallway through from the porch to the back, which was a porch. It was like a breezeway, because that's how they stayed cool, sitting out there. And had a bedroom there on that side of the porch and a dining area and a kitchen. And the other side was my grandmother's bedroom. And then my grandfather had his own little house. There was a little walkway between my grandmother and my grandfather's. And it was he had a little dining chair, a table, and then he had a kitchen stove and sink. And then a big room that had a big old long table and his bed and a closet and a desk. And they all had wood stoves.
So he had a man cave before there were man caves.
Mm-hmm.
So they had their own bedrooms.
Uh-huh. Now, I don't know if it was, I doubt it was always like that because they had 13 children.
Yeah, right. Maybe they had to do that to quit.
Could be.
So there were no other bedrooms where anybody slept? Okay.
But there was the one that Esther and Uncle Walter had 2 big beds or 3 big beds. You know?
Oh, okay.
It was a big bedroom.
Okay.
It had more than one bed.
And that's where you were born, right?
Yeah, in the corner of one of their bedrooms.
Okay.
That bedroom,
Yeah.
that's where I was born.
Sounds like the bedroom up at the lake.
Yeah. Yeah, it had a lot of beds.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the way they slept back then. I mean, the kids slept in the same room as their parents.
No insulation, you needed some body heat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Jeez.
They had wood stoves. They did have a wood stove in that bedroom. Don't remember. Had a wood stove in the dining, big, dining, and then the kitchen had a wood stove. My grandmother had a wood stove, and my grandfather had a wood stove. And I would sleep with my grandmother sometimes, and then because I lived with them till I was 11. And then sometimes I slept with my grandfather when I was little. And in the wintertime, he slept on a feather bed and covered with a feather bed, which is nice and thick and warm. And then when I got up, I would go to the wood stove and warm up on this side and turn around and warm up on the other side because it was cold.
Yeah.
I don't know if my grandmother had a feather bed. I'm sure she did. I slept with her more than I did her.
Yeah.
Those were good memories.
Yeah. What other special memories do you have of them?
Oh, well, my grandfather, I just followed him around. I'd have a picture of me holding on to his pants, he's talking to somebody. And I'd be with him even when his shop, when he would be working on something. And, what do you call it? Had corn cobs, and then they
Making ground.
not
Didn't
ground.
taking the kernels out.
Yeah.
You had a machine.
Help him with that. It was in his shop. And just running around with him. I mean, just following him around. And then with my grandmother, I would be in there with her. And they would, she couldn't, really go much. And because of her condition, her legs, she didn't go to church, but my grandfather did it. I guess every Sunday they all went. And my grandmother said I had to go sit on the front pew, listen to the sermon, remember all the hymns, and know what the sermon was. And it was all in German, which I knew the language. And I'd have to go back home and then tell her what the sermon was, and then the hymns, and she would probably sing some of them. And then every day she had to dress her legs. They were sores all over them.
What was it?
I don't know what you call that. Do you know?
It just sounds like 13 kids. She had some like some venous
Yeah.
problems, blood
I
return.
mean, no telling what happened to her
knows?
while she was helping with the farming. Maybe
Yeah.
she got drug or something, you know.
It could be any number of things.
But she had great big legs, and they made homemade cloth shoes for her that were big. But I'd help her with the dressing. Hand her the clothes. She'd put clothes, big old rags is what they put around. She put salve on it and old rags, and we'd throw them away, and I'd do that.
Must have been painful.
I don't know, she didn't complain.
Yeah.
She never, I don't remember her complaining about anything. She would lay in bed a lot and pray a lot. But she'd sit on in the front porch. She would sit in the breezeway there, at the edge of the breezeway. Is where I remember her sitting, and my grandfather would be on the big porch. There was also an attic there.
So,
There was an attic, had all kinds of stuff in there. But anyway, sit there and they would just enjoy the day and the Sundays and stuff, you know, when they weren't working. Maybe the others that lived there, it was usually an aunt and uncle, and one time there was another couple. They would probably go somewhere. And sometimes when they were gone, and I remember one time when it was evening and time to go for the cows to come in from the pasture. And I went by myself way back in the back pasture, and got the cows. And one of them kicked me in the stomach.
how old were you?
Probably 7, 8, 9, I don't remember. I would go way back there myself. I mean, it was quite a ways. Go under the railroad tracks and that bridge.
It's been a long time. I remember walking back there and seeing
Yeah,
some of
it's
that.
called the back. God, what was it called? That's where they raised, that was a bunch of pecan trees back there. I don't remember what they raised back there. They had a big old field in between the railroad track there and pasture. There was a big tank in that pasture too. And a creek. When I was little, and my cousins, I had all mostly boy cousins. We'd go looking in the creek for crawdads or something. Under the bridge, the railroad bridge, that's where they really were. That was where the little creek went through.
Yeah. Didn't you say you almost drowned? Was that tank?
Yeah, they had a big tank, and we would go in there, and that was close to the house there. And I think Martin would come over, and he might stay there a while, you know, like in the summertime, and we'd go out there. And I'd get in the tank too, and I couldn't swim, and he could, and he went. And one time I hit a little low place and went down, and I guess I almost drowned. I don't know, did he help me out? I don't remember. That's why I think I don't like to go in the water. I think it's still there, because I used to go in the water.
Yeah, that'd be scary.
Yeah.
But you didn't like living there.
Oh, as a little kid I did, but then when I got a little older, I left there when I was 11. It was kind of lonely. I had my cat and dog and my pretend stuff.
No. What kind of dog did you have?
I don't remember, just a little dog.
Yeah. Well, you remember its
I
name?
have a picture somewhere of it. It's just, I don't really remember that much.
Oh.
There were dogs all around there, so.
Nothing special. Okay. Any great grandparents? No,
Probably not, I don't know.
Nothing. Okay, your mom and dad. Where'd they come from? How'd they meet?
Well, I think my mom was born in Lee County. I think so.
I thought something about Dime Box.
I don't know. They lived in
But
Box too,
okay.
but I'm not real sure where she was
Okay.
born. I'm pretty sure it was.
Same area.
So
Yeah.
in that area. Okay.
And my dad was. I think I wrote it on there. It was LaGrange in Blackjack or something, Texas.
Blackjack Springs.
Yeah,
That was a town.
I guess so. Or a neighborhood.
Okay.
And they met in my my mother would go to LaGrange and work, and then sometimes come home on weekends. Not every weekend. And that's where they met. What was she doing? Probably working in a restaurant. I don't know.
Oh, you know.
Yeah, for them to meet, probably so.
I think that's what I'd heard.
I think that's what I heard. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
And that's where they met. I was 5 when they got married.
And you didn't live with them till you were 11?
Yeah, because I lived with him a little bit. They had an upstairs an apartment over. There was a shoe shop, shoe repair shop,
In
and then
LaGrange?
upstairs it had a little apartment in Giddings,
In Giddings, okay.
and that's where they lived after they got married. And I lived with them a while. And I went to Giddings School, Emmanuel, for a little bit, I can remember. But then the war broke out, and he got drafted. So they were knifing. What is that?
It's Amy.
Oh, let me go pause it.
Hello?
Full flush.
Okay, Mama, we're back.
Okay.
Okay, so
He lived in this,
with your mom and dad, we stopped there.
yeah, and after they got married, they lived in this little apartment upstairs over a shop. And Paul worked across the street at a blacksmith shop.
Papa.
Popo. Popo. And then then the war broke out and he was drafted, so he had to go to the war. And when he did, we moved back to the farm. So, I guess he was in training, and then every time he was in the States, 3 different times, Mama would go and follow him. And then I would go visit sometimes. And one time I lived with him in Colorado for a while. I think it was Denver. No, Colorado Springs. And went to school there a little bit. But then the rest of the time I was with my grandparents till I was 11. So, till I was 11. And then I would just stay there.
So when you were 11 and you was Papa out of the war, out of the military then, and where did y'all? So then where did y'all move to?
They moved to Dallas.
Okay.
And I was still in the country. And they lived in a little trailer house. And I was going to school in Lincoln, St. John's Lutheran. And then I guess in the summer I went to live with them in Dallas. And then they bought a house, and so we lived in Dallas till I was 15.
That's your water. That's your water.
Yeah.
Is that it over there?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you lived there till you were 15?
Yeah.
Is that when you moved to Austin then?
Yeah. And so,
Okay, so when you were 15, y'all moved to Austin.
and, they, in Ella Von Minden got us an apartment or house? A house. But we didn't stay there but maybe 3 weeks. I don't know why, I can't remember. And then they rented a house on North Loop Boulevard. We lived there for a while. And then they rented a house on Avenue H. And then they bought a house on Avenue H later.
And how old were you then?
I was 17,
Okay, okay.
I think 16 or something, yeah. When I went to high school. I went to McCallum. It was my senior year. I guess I was 17.
So you started out at Austin High,
Mm-hmm.
and then your senior year, that was the first year in McCallum?
Austin High, and then when we moved to Austin, I went to Baker Junior High. I was in the 9th grade, halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
It was in February, so. And then the 10th grade, I went to Austin High in 11th grade, and then my senior year was at McCallum High School. So,
Okay.
I don't guess any of this stuff.
No, go ahead.
That was my childhood.
Oh, anything you want to tell me? Go ahead
It was
and.
just my childhood.
No, it's interesting though.
Like when she lived with her grandparents, there was no running water or electricity.
Yeah, tell about the outhouse. Let's go. Just step back and talk about when you lived there. How primitive it was, I guess.
Yeah, when I lived with my grandparents, there was no running water, no electricity. We cooked on a wood stove, had lamps, kerosene lamps. That's what I did my homework with. And so it was just primitive. And when I was little, found something to do, to play, just make believe about stuff. And sat, at that time there was a song, "Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree," with nobody else but me, that they kept singing while the war was on.
Mm-hmm.
And I would sit under this tree and sing that thing, so I remember that. And okay, I helped gather. I would gather the eggs. I was the one that gathered all the eggs. They laid all over the darn place, under the house, in different buildings. That was my job. You know, the house was just on blocks, and you could see underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
Very primitive. Very poor.
And so then the outhouse.
Yeah, there was an outhouse. That's the toilet. You had to walk down the hill to go to it.
They had a two-seater.
A two-seater.
People use that at the same time?
2 women could go. I imagine the sisters did.
Oh, good gosh. No way.
Uh-uh.
No. Ain't happening.
You lived in a different. When you lived in that time, you would.
I'd run in there and lock the door and wouldn't let anybody else in.
Probably didn't have a lock.
Oh, good gosh.
Y'all just lived in the wrong time. You just didn't live until you lived then.
Oh. Yeah, and your clothes, your dresses were made out of what?
Yeah, oh yeah, my clothes were made out of bead sacks, sugar sacks, flour sacks, even some of my underwear. That's when Aunt Lydia and Uncle Herman lived there, and their daughter-in-law Evelyn lived there with them because her husband Louis was in the service. And she would help me with homework, and then she would also sew my clothes and made underwear. Doesn't that sound great? I was sugar sacks, I think, because they were the softest. So
Oh gosh.
So what did you do before that?
I guess they bought it. I don't know. But anyway, or somebody might have made them. I don't know. Who knows? Probably I had a lot of homemade
Yeah.
stuff like that, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
Well, didn't we hear on a documentary that a lot of people were doing that
Yeah.
because it was the Depression?
Yeah.
And the companies, like the flour companies and sugar companies, when they realized they were doing that, they started making designs on their
Oh, okay.
sacks, so people had designs on
Oh.
them.
Even as a young teenager, when we were in Dallas, there was this feed sack that Mama made me a skirt, and it was one of my favorite skirts. It was so pretty. It was white and had these big blue flowers on it, and it was one of my favorite skirts. It was pretty.
Well, they were cotton. They weren't paper. They were
Yeah.
soft cotton.
Yeah.
Well, this was a kind of a
Rough.
rough material. So, but no, they turned out nice. I
Yeah.
mean, they were okay. I used to have to wear for school. I had to have a dress when I was young, the first few years. But you had to wear these long socks that were all the way up to your hip, I guess. I can't remember, or to your knee anyway. And then long dresses, not real long, you know, midway through your on your calf. Well, I had to walk behind the railroad track. There was a railroad track there, and I had to go to that other side. I'd go through, well, there was some kind of little field there, and go up through the fences and over the railroad track and get on the road on the other side, because there were people that lived further in. And walk I don't know, half a mile to the main road to catch the bus.
Oh, gosh.
And then, yeah, afternoon, same thing.
Trudge through the snow, the rain, and the sleet.
And then sometime, I don't know when, but I would catch the bus at the front gate. I would have to walk up there and catch it. I don't know why it
That
changed.
was a long trek too, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I don't know why. I just remember doing that sometimes.
Huh.
And also, when my Mama and I went, when she was there and we wanted to go somewhere, we had to catch the Greyhound bus.
So they would have.
They would just stop. You would
Really?
go out there.
And if they're driving by, they'd stop.
They would see you. You might just stick out, stand out, you know, so like you're wanting to go. And they would stop and pick you up.
Huh. They would just come by every day.
I guess. I guess. I don't know.
She didn't remember.
Yeah, I'm just.
Oh, and then when they first moved to Dallas, and I was still in school, but I would ride the train, the one that went in front of by their house. They would take me to Giddings, and I would get on the train and go to Waco, and Mama and Papa would pick me up. And then they would take me to Waco, and I would get on the train and come back, and somebody would pick me up. And I would just wave going by, going by the house. And also, a lot of times when the train went by, we'd be out there waving at the conductors, and they would all wave. So.
Yeah.
We used to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. People used to be nicer.
Uh,
Didn't you say you skipped school one time or something?
in Colorado.
Oh, that okay.
They had a real strict principal, evidently. All those kids in that little cottage thing that lived there, they were all soldiers that lived there, you know, their families. We would walk to school together. And I guess one time we were walking too slow. And the doors school had already started. And we were afraid.
Oh.
So we went to this, I guess it was a creek. Sat there, and then we would, usually go home for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd go when we thought it was lunchtime, and it was the wrong time. So we got caught playing turkey. We were afraid to go into the school because we were late.
Where was it that didn't one of the teachers used to hit you on the hand with a ruler or something?
That was at St. John's Lutheran in Lincoln.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe one time. I turned around. That's all it took. One time, I turned around, looked at somebody behind me, and he, boop. That was it.
Too bad.
Well, it was a one-room schoolhouse with 8 grades.
Yeah.
There were 2 8th graders, 2 boys. One was Carl Bose's brother.
Oh.
Yeah, they're one room. The teacher taught all of them.
Now they earned their salary.
Right. Yeah. Gosh.
I think just before I left, there was another little room. They might have gotten the small kids, I think, in there.
Mm.
But
Mm-hmm.
don't really remember too much about that.
Yeah.
And I'd also help around, gathering eggs. I would help my grandfather plant sweet potatoes and gather when they were done, go in there and dig them up and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And help him with the garden. He had a big garden at the house and then a big garden out in the field. Had watermelons out there.
Mm.
They had some plum trees and peach trees there too in the field.
Mm-hmm.
And a big pear tree. So
You got together.
out there when I said I would get the cows, there was a persimmon tree. So anyway, I used to help him. I remember one time picking a little cotton, but I think most of the time I just sat under the peach and plum trees.
They
Played.
watched or played.
Played.
Yeah.
They raised sugar cane and made their own molasses. They get harvest the sugar cane, and then they had a big old press, and they would run that sugar cane through there and get all the juice, and then they had a big old oven. I think looks like a barbecue pit, but the pans were on top. And that was all, they'd put fire underneath there and heat it, and that's where they would cook their molasses.
Oh, so that just comes from sugar.
They just
Sugar cane.
cook it down.
Kind of make it
Cook
like
it
when you
in.
make caramel, but not as. Oh,
No butter.
okay.
Uh,
Didn't know that. And they would sell that.
Yeah, it was down there past the pig pens and by the tank, right by the tank. The press was just past the pigs over there, and then that was just kind of down further in the hill there. And his tobacco was right behind there, so where he grew his tobacco.
And how many languages did he speak?
Her grandfather?
Huh?
How many languages did he speak?
My grandfather spoke English very good, and German, and Wendish, and Czech.
I do good with English.
Yeah.
We barely get by.
Yeah. Me too.
Oh. Oh, I also helped my grandfather when it would get hog killing time. Cindy.
I remember.
Was that a hog?
They were butchering, or was that a bull?
They would butcher hogs, and then my grandfather would get the intestines, And I would help him clean it.
The intestines? Oh, gross.
It's a small intestine.
And you use that for sausage?
Yeah.
Okay.
You clean them real good.
The small intestines. You don't use the large intestines.
Well, the big one's for that white sausage, the cooked sausage.
Oh, you really did use those. Okay.
I guess, because they usually were big.
Yeah.
How'd you clean those?
We just kept washing them out there. Over there were, because where they washed their clothes at big old iron pots.
Mm-hmm.
And get those and fill them with water, and then I guess put hot water in there and clean them real good. After we cleaned them. I guess that's what we did. I can't remember exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where they wash clothes. It's those big old pots. One they rinse and one's,
Yeah, and then they would clean the hog intestines in the same thing they washed your clothes in.
I guess, maybe not. You know,
They had soap.
I'm not real
Yeah, I
sure.
guess so.
I'm not real sure about
Yeah. Huh.
that. It was something. It's all I can remember. It was something.
Just cleaning the intestines.
No gloves. We are spoiled, aren't we?
Yeah. I can't even stand to get the gunk that's left in the bottom of the sink after you wash dishes.
And most of the time, when I had somebody to play with, it was on weekend, Sunday, when people would come visit on Sunday. And they would make sandwiches, mackerel sandwiches usually. But sometimes something else, but I can't. But anyway, and Esther would usually cook a coffee cake and make coffee. And they would eat around the table. The men ate first, then the children, and then the women.
I remember that.
When you were little,
I remember visiting them. That men ate first.
I don't think that was anymore when, I don't remember anything like that.
Oh, in church, the men sat on one side and the women sat on the other side. And that's where I used to see the mothers, nursing mothers,
Mm-hmm.
sitting back, nursing their babies and not very hiding it. And
As a little girl, you thought that was
Yeah.
gross.
yeah,
Yeah. Especially people you don't know.
but anyway, but when we got company, it was mostly boys, cousins. I would play with them and they would all run away and hide from me and stuff. They were mean. And on Saturdays was the time you went to town to get him,
No.
stock up on whatever you needed,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I would get to go. And also, they had a meat club in Lincoln, at this little store. They had a meat club. Once a week, somebody would kill some beef. And everybody would take a turn, and you never paid for your meat. That way you donated, you gave the beef that, and then every Saturday we'd go get the beef. And a lot of the time I went with my grandfather on a buggy.
Mm-hmm.
That's about maybe 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles.
And it was like a horse and,
Horse and buggy.
yeah.
We would go and get milk.
Didn't you say that then there'd be cars behind him and,
Well, one time, I don't know why, we were on the highway. Maybe we were going to the black people's house for some reason. They lived next door. I don't know why we were. But I said something, I said, the cars are going to run over us. They see us, they're not going to run over us. Wasn't that money cars, you know.
yeah.
Once in a while.
Yeah.
Horse and buggy, no electricity, no running water. No, this is in the 1930s in the United States.
I know, isn't that crazy to think?
It's not that long ago.
Not even 100 years ago.
Not that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You know, one time I had a appendix attack. And they took me in to get, and the doctor was upstairs, so they took me there. But anyway, I ended up being in the hospital for about I went to the, no, I didn't go to the hospital. But I stayed at somebody's house for a week in bed.
How old were you?
I don't know. I was little, about maybe 9, 8, 9.
Mm-hmm.
That's like when I had my surgery hysterectomy. The doctor said your appendix was in worse condition than your thyroid.
Uterus.
Yeah,
I thought they took it out.
I
They
guess-
didn't take it out when you had an appendix?
they didn't take the ovary out.
No. When you said
Oh, the appendix? Yeah, he took it out.
When you were a
when
kid?
you were a kid,
No,
they didn't?
no. I
what
was
did they
just
do
in bed.
for you?
I just stayed in bed and it got better.
Oh, so they didn't take it out then?
No.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes the inflammation goes down. And so you're back then there were no antibiotics. So
It could have just killed her.
infection after surgery was a big risk.
Oh.
I might have lived with Aunt Elma and Uncle August, but I think it was somebody else that did it.
And antibiotics weren't generally used.
Okay. So then when you had your hysterectomy, you were probably, what, 36 or so?
No, I wasn't that old.
Oh, you weren't that old?
No, I was about.
Well, you had to be at least 28.
Yeah, I was at.
She was 28 when she had me.
Yeah, I was about
I remember you
29 or
being-
30.
I thought I remembered
Do
you
you?
being,
Maybe I was a little older. I
like
have
you had
it.
been in the hospital.
I have it in my paperwork.
Yeah, I remember I was pretty young, but I kind of remember. But they told you your appendix was, but so he took it out then?
Yeah, he said it was in worse shape.
Wow.
It must have been scar tissue from that
When
time
you-
when I was
wow.
little.
Yeah, it says here, penicillin was first invented in 1928. So it was there, but I imagine it was
Yeah.
pretty expensive.
Yeah.
And during the Depression,
Yeah.
Had my tonsils taken out when I lived in Dallas.
Okay, that was a little later.
Yeah. You know, I don't remember what the year. I have it on my medical record, how old I was when I had that. I mean, what year. I don't remember. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's what I said. I often went to spend some time with Martin at Uncle August and Aunt Elma's, you know. And he would come and spend some time with us, you know. In the summertime, my grandfather sat on that sling chair of his out there overnight, and I know I did. I don't know if Martin did, but I did. Take 2 chairs, put them together, and lay out there on those with him.
And sleep out there overnight?
Probably not all night. I just remember doing that. Oh. And Arnold went to St. John's Lutheran Church because
Oh,
they
okay.
lived there then. And he went to school there. He was a little bit younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to make fun of him. You know, he
Yeah.
wasn't all, you know,
Was
had his crippled hand and stuff. And his mom babied him too much. And they would make fun of him, and I'd get mad at him.
Mm-hmm.
So. One time there was a family named Schneider that lived there. Well, stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll take the rest of this.
We're going to
another
stop here and we'll take it up
I think I bounced.
When she's in Dallas?
Yeah.
I did that.
Okay. Well, when I want to wear you out, we'll do this again.
Well,
Okay.
she was high, well, we were talking about high school and